Today I want to demonstrate the features of how you can adjust the colours, the RGB colours of a camera using the new CCU controller. These colours are going to be the gains, gammas and pedestals or blacks, as can be seen when you go to the CCU control. We'll be able to adjust the blacks, gammas and gains. I'll briefly talk about adjusting these, but mainly we're just talking about those particular values there, and I'll just switch that back to normal camera control. So the way we get into the adjusting the colours is by just using the menu rotary knob here and selecting either first position, which is indicated this little arrow here. I'll hit the focus button here, might get it a bit better. That little arrow there, which is up top, that indicates the selection is on gains. If I turn the rotary knob, come back a bit and move it again, we jump too much there, you go. That indicates the gammas, which is basically saying up and down. The gammas are always the what they call the mid-tones, they call it. And then the third position is blacks. So you see the arrow is pointing up, meaning we're going to do the blacks. We go back to gains, we're going to do the gains. And on this particular display, it tells you that we've currently got CCU selected as our default, which can be indicated by this light's being on here. Currently this camera's on air, but this camera is cyan because it's actually on the preview bus, as can be seen by going back up to switcher. There we go, and there you see it's on the preview bus, so that's why. So if I put another camera up there, you see now that's just gone back to the normal blue selection, indicating that's the camera. That's the camera that we've actually got currently selected up here to adjust. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to, I'm going to switch back to camera 1 just by pushing the button there, and you can see now the display shows us we're adjusting CCU number 1. Now when we initially have a look at these particular modes, that's gains, gammas and that's blacks, it actually shows you the values currently that those red, green and blues of the gains have at the moment, including the actual overall gain, which you will see what I'll adjust there. But if I go back to the CCU control over here, and you can see here, they're the values. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just quickly scrub these backwards and forwards like that. While I'm doing that, you'll actually see that those values are changing up here. So this display is always showing you what the values are on the CCU, regardless of who's adjusting it or what. But it's not just guessing what it is, it's always getting the data back out of the ATEM so that you know exactly what you're looking at here. And of course, while I'm doing that same adjustment, you can see we're doing it here too. But that's me doing it on the software control panel. But we're going to be doing it on the CCU controller here. So we're still on gains, and if I can get this thing to focus a bit better, we're still on gains. Now to actually start adjusting, we can actually hit the menu button, and now you'll see it tells us that over here it tells us that we can use soft button 4 to exit, and we can use soft button 3 to do ×10 values if we want to do drastic changes. The default is just normal, so we can do finite changes. Now as I said before, we have the adjustment of the red, green and blue, and we also have the overall gain. So if I actually turn this up, you'll see the values going up there. You'll see the values are going up here as I'm winding it up, and you'll also see the values are going up here. So we're only looking at the very left hand value there, which is called Y, or its actual lumens. gained a whole lot. Now at any time, if I want to bring that back to normal, I can just push the button down and it will reset it. It will reset it back to the default value, which is for gains, it's 1. And again, I'll just wind it up and I'll just show you up here. We go hit the button and it'll immediately reset. And the same applies for the red, green and blue. If I push down any one of these buttons here, it will reset it back to Unity. So if you get yourself really screwed up, they can bring it back to sanity. Let's call it sanity. Now the other thing you can also do outside of so let's just exit that for the moment, and let's just go back to what we call the home page or normal operation. At any time during operation, if you get really screwed up with your colours, you can actually, if you hold down the iris button and push the pedestal button, and I'll show you on the waveform here. I'm going to push it down. It actually, you see that now. That's also resets everything. It resets everything to do with that, which includes the gains, gammas, and blacks. So we just go back into the gain mode again, gain adjust mode. Normally when you're doing CCU control, you're using these values, the red, green and blue values, to paint. It's called paint, or adjust the colours. So you can see here I'm cranking up the red there, and of course you can see the red's cranking up here. If I need to make massive changes, by holding down the soft 3 key and turning the same knob, doing this one-handed, you'll see that the changes occur much greater. So if you need to get it a long way back into a range, you can just use that values there. And then once you take your finger off, as I've done now, we've just gone back to fine adjustments. I'll just show you that again on the values. Hold my finger down, you see it's making bigger values. Take my finger off, it's just making the smaller values. And now, as you can see, it's got too much red. It's too much red. Well, again, we're only in the gains, so I'm just going to hold my finger down, just bring that red back down. Now you can see the blue can come up a bit if we're assuming that the top part of the waveform is the white of this piece of paper I've got back here. An old trusty A4 paper. And so I can basically use the gain controls to get the whites about correctness. I mean, if you're using a composite waveform monitor where you've got what we call flat display, you use it to minimise the amount of chroma that you see in the white, which is my favourite way of doing it. But we don't have that capability on the SmartScope. We can only see it in these parades. The other thing you can do with this is you can actually use the little joystick over here. Now, there's 2 modes of joystick operation. The joystick, when it's enabled, there's a little light that will come on here. You'll see that in a moment. And these 2 buttons over here indicate or you use to control the joystick, which is indicated by this little circle with a dot in it. That means that they're both joystick buttons. This particular button, or soft 2 button, that is mainly used for controlling a fine joystick value. And when I say fine, it will give you an on-air control. And again, the times 10 if you want to do a much coarser control. So if we hold down the soft 2 button, I'm going to try and do this, and you'll see the lights come on over here, and I can now move the joystick. And while I'm moving the joystick, you'll see that so we're going. I moved up to red. I moved over to blue. Now I can move over to green. Now the little trick with all this is that if you're not careful, normally in controlling the RGB using a joystick, you can get yourself into a bind by increasing your green and then trying to balance the red and the blue to match the green. And what it would do, the subsequence of that is that you would then get an excessive amount of noise because you actually moved your green gain up and then you're trying to increase the red and the blue to match that. Now the way this works is that it will never adjust the green. it'll only adjust the red and the blue, so you never ever get into that bind with your colours being, or your camera being noisy. Now, the difference between soft 2 and soft 1, soft 1 actually will lock, soft 2 you have to hold the button down to adjust. You take your finger off and it doesn't adjust. Soft 1 you actually just click it once and it stays on, and then the joystick is always active. Now the other thing too is that these particular on soft 1 controls, the values are a bit more intense, so you can actually, without having to hold your finger down all the time, here you can see I'm just adjusting them now, the changes on the joystick are actually twice as much as what they are if you're only using soft 2. And of course, to come out of that mode, you just click the button again. And during all those modes, you can still be using these the knobs as well. So you can see that the values are adjusting there as we do that. I'm rushing through this at the moment. So we come out of there. Now, just the other quick thing I need to talk about the joystick is that the way the joystick works is it's pretty much the same as the colour circles. You've got red up here, you've got green down here, and you've got blue over here. So as you move the joystick in the same directions, you get more red that way, you get more blue that way, and you get more green that way. So subsequently, if you've got too much green in the picture, you move the joystick that way. And if you've got too much blue in the picture, you move the joystick that way. And of course, if you've got too much red in the picture, you move the joystick that way, which is pretty much standard procedure. Again, once we've finished our setting our values, we can then enter, and the values are then nothing's changed. Once that, the values are set as you change, as you do your adjustments, and then of course we can say do the blacks, and again we hit the menu button to go into black adjust mode, and here you can see these are the blacks being adjusted. I can use the times. Oh, hang on, just hit the wrong button there. I can use the times 10 to do a larger adjustment. You see there's the blacks going down big time, or just do very fine adjustments. Again, with the joystick, just hold the joystick down and move it around a bit. You see them moving around. And the other thing too is that while you're adjusting with the joystick, if you've got your finger hold on the button on soft 2 and you push the button down, it'll reset back to normal, back to Unity. And of course the same with the soft 1. So I'm trying to operate 100 things here at once. You can be adjusting your blacks around, and at any time you can just hit the button down and it'll reset it. Exactly the same as by just pushing these buttons down here. I won't show you the gammas. I'll quickly just go to the gammas. Just hit enter, go back into there the gammas. Let's go to just straight to joystick mode, and then here's moving the gammas around. Now the gammas are actually doing the mid stretches. We've got to hit the button there first. There you go. So the gammas are just doing mid stretches. There's very fine control there. Which is actually the mid-tones, but all gammas will affect the blacks and the whites as well, so just be aware of that. Now the other thing you might have noticed here, and I'm just going to quickly touch on this before I close up, you might notice I said that the green value never changes, but in fact if you have a look at on the scope, I've just gone back to gain here, and I'm going to go into adjust mode. While I'm adjusting, let's say red, I'm just going to go, you'll see the green is actually changing. I'm not, and like you have a look here, the value of green is 1, and no matter what you do, that will never change, unless you turn the green knob, of course. But you'll see, as I'm turning, say I turn the red up, you'll see the red's going down. Sorry, the green's going down. But that's a function of the camera. That's not a function of the CCU controller or anything like that. And of course, if I then go into say joystick mode, again, I'm going to do some radical values here. You'll see no matter what I do to the on the joystick, it's never affecting the green value. But if you actually have a look on the waveform, you'll see the green value is changing, even though I'm not actually sending any data to the green. We need a bit of blue there, don't we? There you go. But anyhow, so that's basically the concept of all that. And as I said, whatever camera you've last selected is the camera that the colours are controlling. So enter that. So if I now go to say camera 2, see camera 2 has got a chart on it actually. And if I now enter, because we're on toggle mode, we're always going back to whatever's on the line picture. If I now go into setting the gain on CCU position number 2, which is the camera 2, I can, as soon as I select that, it will actually switch that camera up on my preview monitor, obviously because you want to see it while you're doing adjustments. So you don't actually have to have it switched to line or whatever, you just it'll automatically accept the last button that you pressed here. And I'll just come out of there. On here I've got this is the EX one with the it doesn't have any control other than the iris control, and of course any of the color imagery controls can't control that, but it does with the EX3 and other which I'll be showing in a totally different video. I have missed out a lot, but I think you get the idea. We've gone too long again.